Hey, Ryan Patrick, Peak Fitness and Sports Training. I want to talk to you about a variation we use on the kettlebell windmill. If you're not familiar with this exercise, it simply involves somewhat staggered stance and a lot of hip range of motion, a lot of upper back range of motion as we go through this exercise called the windmill. Now, looking at it might be a little intimidating. There's certainly a lot of opportunity for you to do it inappropriately and load some of the structures or tissues of the back we're really not after. But if done correctly, it is a phenomenal hip range of motion exercise. It is a phenomenal core and upper back range of motion exercise. So it's syncing a lot of things that we seek to address in our warm-ups and in the rest of our movement and put them together in one really challenging exercise. So to set up our progression, we can actually start in a kneeling position. So we're going to set up in our typical half kneel, and we're going to take this back foot, wiper blade it in so that now our hips are open, roughly at 90 degrees. This is going to open your hips, and really the transition position that we're using if we're going up or down in our Turkish get-up. So for this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the kettlebell and press overhead. Okay? We want to make sure that we're establishing a nice neutral position first. So we're going to make sure that shoulder's out of the ear, in the socket. We want to make sure our abs are braced and our hips are under us. We don't want to be sitting in an extended posture right off the bat. Okay? The cue that I like to use here is while you're looking up at the bell and tightening your abs, we're going to go hips to heels and find that hand on the ground. So you notice right away this is putting us in that same kind of hip back rotation position, but without the range of motion that was in the standing variation. So we can really work on controlling how we're centered under this bell, how our core is functioning, and drive through with that back glute to create a nice hip extension and finish back in our starting spot. So if you can get that down pat, what you can do is actually go all the way down to your elbow. So if you've got the range of motion, if you've got the control, we can go down as far as your elbow. Now, it's a little bit far for me. So one of the things we can do is set a yoga block here and continue the same pattern, pressing the bell up, establishing neutral, and finding hips to heels, and slowly just going down to my elbows on this block. You can see it's a little deeper position. I'm working a little harder to make sure my shoulders don't drive into my ears. And keeping my core tight, I'm going to drive my hips through under the bell.